Hey, welcome to Three Count Commentaries. It's your boy MongoSlade. So let's talk about Roman Reigns and the Usos, which has been very interesting. So this was a throwback episode of Smackdown. So it was a little bit of a mixed throwback because there was some 80s stuff, there was some 90s stuff, and they showed a lot of clips from like 2000. So they didn't pick a unified vision and stick with it. They digitized the fist at one point, but they had the throwback WW that was from the late 80s to early 90s. But let's talk about so it was a decent the refs had the SmackDown blue back, so it was pretty cool. But I think on its face it was kind of weird. They did sort of a 3D version of the fist instead of just bringing the actual fist. But I guess it's too much to ask. Anyway, Roman and Paul Heyman was in the ring to do a eulogy for Daniel Bryan's career. And I like that they didn't do an actual 10-bell salute, that they did a mocking 10-bell salute. That felt more like it made sense. And all Roman wanted was for Daniel Bryan to acknowledge him, and Daniel Bryan didn't do it. So now Daniel Bryan is gone, and he gave Daniel Bryan what he wanted. Daniel Bryan wanted to leave because he gives everybody what they want, according to Roman. So he gave Daniel Bryan what he wanted. And that he says that, well, we replaced him anyway. And here comes Jimmy Uso, rather. Jimmy Uso is back. He still got his hair long, so we could tell him from Jay. But my God, he looks just it was still a struggle trying to figure out which one is which. But I knew Jimmy was the one in the hat. So Jimmy comes back, and Jimmy and Jay are super excited to be back together, and Roman is like, I don't know about this one, dog. He didn't like he was feeling it, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, Cesaro comes out saying that Daniel Bryan is irreplaceable, and that he doesn't have time for Roman because he got to fight Seth. Then he gets attacked from behind by Seth. Then it was the Mac Militant was ready to get it on, and Teddy Long says that if Cesaro beats Seth Rollins, then he will be the #1 contender at WrestleMania Backlash. Holla, 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 play y'all. And then Roman took a cheap shot on Cesaro, and everybody pretty much played ping pong with Cesaro for a little bit before they went to commercial. When they came back, Cesaro and Seth Rollins was having a decent match. Then Rollins, I should stop and take time to talk about Rollins' tights. So he had if you remember the Obama Hope art image, Rollins had that on the side of his tights, but it was his own face, of course, and it said Rollins. So they're going full on with Rollins being a politician. I think it fits the character. It's a little bit different from cult leader. He still should have like people with him. I'm not saying that a specific Australian should be with him. I don't think so. I think that you could find some other guys that they're not using and bring those guys in. I mean, there's some guys on 205 Live that have been in there forever, like Tony Nese. He's been there forever. Give the guy a shot on SmackDown and put him with Seth Rollins. Guy looks good. Guy's been on Raw for like 5 years, like legit. Why he doesn't get a shot at Raw or SmackDown is kind of ridiculous. Arya Davari and all these type of guys. Like if somebody needs to have a stable, bring some of those guys in. Well, what's the problem? You're hiring new people for 205 Live anyway. I digress. I got into the weeds. Anyway, Rollins snapped on Jimmy Uso, said that he didn't want his help and that he was in the way. Then he shoved Jay at one point, which brought Jimmy over. Jimmy then super kicked Rollins and cost Rollins the match because Rollins then loses to the neutralizer. Following this match, Rollins went to Roman to complain and says like, okay, so who should I be mad at? You or your family? Because I had this guy beat. And Roman's like, look, I understand that you're frustrated. I understand that you're mad. But I got to now pick up. Now I got to handle your mess ups. I don't want to have to handle cleanup behind you. But also, I will deal with my family too. And Rollins said, okay, well, you deal with them, or I'm going to. And Roman breathes very, very heavy. He's like, He was very unhappy. So then Roman went to Jimmy and said to Jimmy, like, look, I gave you an opportunity. You know, I brought you back on top. You was with us. You was back an hour before you were botching things up. You turned it into botchamania out there. I don't want to have to clean up behind you. And Jimmy was like, look, I ain't nobody's bitch. You don't talk to me like that. And I was, my eyes got the biggest quarters. I was like, yes, it's a little early, but I was 100% down for it. It's a little early because, you know, Jimmy just came back. But I really did like that he took a stand. Like, no, not me. Wrong Uso. I'm not doing it. And so he took off. And Jay went to Jimmy like, bro, what are you doing? You messing up my good thing here. And Jimmy was like, what are you doing? And Jimmy was like, I told you what I thought about you. You know, I think but we're stronger together. You and me. We could be the tag team champions again. And Jay is like, no, but Roman is family. He always been with us. He always been there, oos. He always been there, oos. And Jimmy like, yeah, but we don't need him. And he don't need you. You can go ask him yourself whether he needs you. He don't need you, but I do. I need you. And it was like a tear in my eye. I was like, oh my God. And they say men don't cry. Later, Roman told Heyman to go fetch his cousin, to which Paul was like, which one? And then after Roman gave him the death stare, he decided, okay, I know. So he goes and he gets Jay. And then Roman gives Jay the lecture. Talks about how hard they work. All the work they put in for the family. And then he just wanted to give Jimmy the same opportunities he's given Jay. He made Jay Uso main event Uso. He just wanted to do the same for Jimmy. But now Jimmy is acting stupid. He needs to know where Jimmy stands. So they go out into the arena, just the three of them once more. Roman says like 2 words before Jimmy cut him off. And then, Jimmy says, you don't need to hear about this Roman stuff. I want to know where you stand, Jay. You let me know where you stand. And he reminded him of the I Quit match. Like, you quit to this man. You quit for me. Now, no disrespect, but I would never have quit to this man. And Roman was like, what? What is wrong with this guy? Then Roman was like, all right, look. You hung up on the past. Me and Jay, we going forward. We don't got time to deal with the past. You can either acknowledge me or take your ass home. And when you go home, explain to your kids why you sitting at home watching the head of the table and the Uso. And Jimmy, of course, he turns and he leaves. He didn't want to deal with that. He walked off. He got halfway up the ramp before Jay came and got him. Like, you just need to acknowledge him, bruh. Oh God, that was so weak. I'm talking about even in the context of the story. Jay looks like an absolute bitch. He does look like a bitch. He looks like an absolute bitch. And then while they had their backs turned and they're discussing whether Jimmy should acknowledge Roman, Cesaro attacks Roman, beats him down in the corner. Jimmy helps Jay, who got beat down by Cesaro too. And Cesaro just laid waste to all 3 of them. Beat them all up. He just went complete and total ape on all 3 of the Samoans. And that's kind of how we go off of Smackdown. And it was very interesting. Jimmy Uso comes back and immediately makes waves. So I'm thinking there's obviously some options that we got here. We did the whole Roman Jay thing. Could we do Roman Jimmy? Yes, theoretically. But could we do Jimmy versus Jay? And I don't know if the world is ready for Jimmy versus Jay. I don't know if we're ready for that. That's a Brett and Owen thing that I think we need to put some real effort into. But I love that Jimmy is establishing himself away from Jay. Jay has been not brainwashed, but he's sort of a man of his word. You know, he told Roman that if he quit, he was not going to, you know, act stupid anymore. He was going to fall in line. He was going to acknowledge him, head of the table, everything for the family. Jay is being a man of his word. That's the whole point of all this. Is Jay is a heel, but he's being a man of his word. He told Roman what he was going to do. If you beat me, make me say I quit, you know, I'll fall in line. And that's what happened. But now the reason that he quit is back and saying, you don't need to do this. You need to break your word. You need to leave. And Jay is like, I don't know, man. This is for the fam. You know, this is for the fam. This is bigger than us. And that's another thing that you need to think about. Like, they're brothers. They're always going to be together. But there are things that are bigger than them. They got kids. They got, extended family. That's something to think about. But I like the idea of Jimmy. And I don't know if I like Jimmy and Roman wrestling. I think that that's good to bring Jay back up to the main event, to bring Jay back into that picture, because he's going to be torn between Roman and his own brother. And that's a very interesting character dynamic for Jay. We already know Roman ain't got no problem decimating one of his cousins. So that kind of thing is different. But I do remember, Roman liked Jimmy. He always liked Jimmy. Remember, he was trying to manipulate Jay several months ago. He would always say, like, Jimmy would have won that match. Jimmy can do it. Jimmy can handle it. So now we're saying that Jimmy can do things on his own. And now we're going to get a chance to see whether Jimmy can do things on his own. And I love that. I think that was very intriguing. That's very intriguing stuff. So I really, if we do Jimmy by himself, running amok on SmackDown, I think that he needs to definitely be different from Jay. And I think I did a video not too long ago, probably several months probably now at this point, that you can't put Jay back in the Usos. I don't think you can, to be quite honest. I don't see how it benefits him to go back in the Usos. It is a step backwards. And Roman was right that Jay can't go backwards. Going back to being in the tag team with Jimmy, going back to being the tag team champions, they've already done that. It's time to go forward. And forward is Jay as a single star, Jay as main event Uso. Is that what's going to propel him to fight Jimmy? That Jimmy represents the past, Roman represents in some ways the future, and all of these many months of being in main events and being the man, maybe it spoiled him. Maybe he doesn't want to go back to being in the tag team. I just like that there's so many questions floating around. That like something. This is a really good story. This is a really good story, and something as simple as just adding one more player, just one more piece that wasn't there last week, has now created this incredible decision tree where there's branches all over the place of what could possibly happen. Could the Usos work together to beat up Roman? I think that will happen eventually, at some point in the future. I know a lot of people wanted the bloodline to be together because it's been a long time since they were the bloodline. But I love the idea of Jimmy going out on his own and Jay being like, I don't need Jimmy. Jimmy can handle it. Jimmy can do this. Jimmy can do that. And maybe even doing a thing where, where Roman once again makes Jimmy put his career on the line. And then we send Jimmy ass to Raw. Why not? I say do it. I say send Jimmy ass to Raw. There's just so many options that you got here. And almost all of them are good if you play your cards right, which they have been doing with SmackDown so far. All right, so we talked a lot about Jimmy Uso's return, Jay, Roman. Now we got to talk about Cesaro. Now I know it's like almost 15 minutes into the video before I finally started talking about Cesaro. But Cesaro won. He beat Seth Rollins. The match was fine. Cesaro is once again, though, on the outside of this feud. He doesn't feel like an important part of it. At first it was Daniel Bryan. Now it's Jimmy Uso that has emerged as the A story for SmackDown. And the A story is not the guy who's going to be wrestling the champion next Sunday, you know? And it's easy to overlook Cesaro because he's very understated. And this is already, prime real estate that we got here with Jimmy Uso. Everybody has been waiting on his return. But a lot of people have wanted Cesaro in this spot, but it just feels like he's a stopgap. That he's just going to be there maybe for a couple of matches, lose, and move on. And that's not really what you want. If you're going to be pushing this guy going forward, that's not what you want. You want him to be seen as a guy who deserves to be on that level. And I think that I don't see him beating Roman for the belt. I see him having a great match with Roman, a fabulous match with Roman, but I don't see him beating Roman. I see him continuing Roman's streak of having good matches, And part of the reason Roman has been having really good matches is because the story's been there. And the story will likely not be as deep with Cesaro, but it ought to still be a good story told, and it still ought to really be a good match. I just want them to have like a sit down with Cesaro and explain like all the rocky road that it took for him to get here, the roller coaster that it took for him to get here. He just still feels like a guy who's just in this spot because his buddy put him in this spot. And that's not how you want a guy like Cesaro to feel. You want him to feel like an underdog, or maybe not even an underdog because he's kind of a little too strong, a little too tenured for that. People, think too highly of him for him to be an underdog. But maybe, the grizzled veteran who, this is his big opportunity. This is what he's been waiting for his whole life, his whole career. For like 9 years now, he's been waiting for this big main event run with Roman. He's been waiting on this. And, we don't get a sit down with him to talk about it. When he did talk this week, he talked about Daniel Bryan. So, I just don't see them putting the effort into Cesaro. And you can play it off like Roman is overlooking Cesaro, which is fine. But that's not really how you should want a big pay-per-view main event. It's not SummerSlam or WrestleMania or anything. But for Cesaro, it's going to be the biggest match he's ever had in WWE. This is the biggest match he could possibly have until he main events a major show. He's never done nothing on this level before. We need to find some way to invest in Cesaro so that he can bloom and crack this shell that he's in. We definitely need that. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. Also subscribe via Subscribestar or send cash directly via the Cash app. However makes you feel comfortable. I'd appreciate, any and all donations, no matter what the size. And thank you guys for your time, man. Have a good day, and I'll talk to you guys later.